Hey folks, how y'all doing today? Had a question earlier about some working with composite cores or foam cores. Mr. Jacob Jordan, man, I hope I didn't butcher your name, but he submitted a question about working with this stuff. So I thought I'd throw a quick video together for y'all today. Just working with a piece of scrap core I have. Kind of give Mr. Jacob there a quick rundown on how to properly handle this foam core if he decides to go forward with it, as opposed to using some of the wooden cores that are available. I strictly use composites when I'm talking about a laminate. I don't use any wood in my laminates at all anymore. So if you're new here, please hit that like button, subscribe, share a comment below. Tell me what y'all want to see, folks. Like I said in the last video, you guys are why I'm doing this stuff, and I just want to make sure I get y'all's information out there to you. I also want to say, there's everybody's got their own opinions on how to do this stuff. What I'm sharing with you guys is how I work with it, and I even occasionally modify my methods. Again, humidity, temperature, things of that nature cause me to shift directions sometimes. So, if you've got another way and you'd like to share that below, by all means, please put it in the comments. I know there's a million ways to do this stuff. Again, this is just my way. This is what's worked for me for the last 2.5 decades. So, I'm probably not going to change my ways, but I am willing to try something new. If you've got something to offer me, I'll take it. So with that being said, let me turn this camera around, get it angled onto work, and show you guys what I'm doing. All right, y'all, so I got some resin mixed up here. I've got more than I need for this little project because I'm working on a couple other pieces besides this. I just wanted to show you all this while I was doing this. So what we have here, we have a piece of Kusa board. The question was really on the carbon core that I usually use, but this is a piece of Kusa. It's a piece of scrap Kusa, and it wets out the same and works the same as the carbon core PE or the PVC or the Venicell. So yeah, this is how we work with the core material and how we're going to glass it. What I like to do, start in the middle and work my way out. That way we're not making a giant mess. And I like to wet out the core first. Without making such a mess. Now I'm only going to be laminating this with a single layer of 1.5 ounce chop strand mat, and so chop strand lays down real nice. So I won't be running a fin roller over this, or a bubble buster, or whatever we're going to call them this month. I'll just be kind of brushing it down with the chip brush here, and showing y'all how nice the chop strand lays down. So we're good and wet. We're gonna let that sit there just a minute. So you want to let it sit here just a couple minutes. This stuff's closed cell foam, but if you give it just a second, you'll see you may not see it in the video here. I hope you do. It'll kind of dry out in a couple of spots, and that's where that very outer edge of the foam, where the cut line is, that last couple thousandths of an inch in the thickness is actually an open cell structure. Once you get past that cut line, though, it's 100% closed cell. and sometimes you'll end up with a couple of little dry patches in here. And I like to go back through after it's soaked in just a second, spread itself out, and just touch those dry patches up. You want a good bond. You don't want any dry spots on your core when you're laying it up. Now, if you're working with a cloth, and only a cloth, like say a 10-ounce cloth, one thing you can do is you can just lay the cloth on here. You can just lay the cloth on here and then wet it out from the top. It takes a little longer to get your wet out good, or you can wet out your foam, let it just barely kick off. It'll still be a little tacky to the touch, but you can let it just kind of kick off and start to harden. You don't want it wet at all when you do this, and once it's started to harden and it's barely tacky, you can lay your cloth on top and then work from there. I typically work what I call wet on wet though, and that's the method like I'm doing right here right now, and it's just my preferred way. You end up using less resin this way than if you wet it out, let it kick, and then lay another piece on top. Those lighter weight cloths like 10 ounce, or some of you guys might be using a 6-ounce cloth even, which is really lightweight. They're kind of tricky to work with at times. When you're working on a wet surface, when you're trying to unroll them or lay them down on a wet surface, because they tend to want to pull one way or the other. And typically you want your fibers running on, if using a cloth, running, side to side and front to back in as straight a line as possible. You don't want them going like this, because you're not going to get the strength out of those fibers anymore. But like I said, this is just some chop strand mat that I had and a piece of scrap core, just to show you folks what we got going on here and how to get this stuff wet out. You'll notice I don't have any smooth cut lines on this chop strand. It is all torn. And I guess I could have left it cut on this piece because it's not a structural piece, and it's just going to be scrap when I'm done anyway. But when you get into a habit of doing something so much, taking a pair of scissors to chop strand just doesn't make sense to me. It tears very easily, and you can tear it against a straight edge like a aluminum yardstick or something to get nice straight lines with it. But that's it, y'all. Just I kind of rigged this piece up for you. I rounded over the corners to show you how nice this stuff lays down. A lot of folks don't like chop strand mat, and from a structural standpoint, it's really not that structurally sound. It's the most brittle and has the least tensile strength and least flexural strength than any of the other fiberglasses, really, for the same weight of material and thickness especially. But it has its purposes. And making small parts like this that aren't going to see a serious structural load of any kind, like if you're making a little shelf or something, this stuff's perfect for a little shelf under your console, or if you guys are into automotive stuff and speaker boxes, this is the material you would use for that, and it works great for it. All right, so we'll just let that kick off and finish up. There's a little bit of air in here. Like I said, this is just a scrap piece, y'all. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time rolling all these little pen air bubbles out. Just not really needed for this part. There you have it. Nice little shelf or something like that for a console. That's all it is, folks. All right, y'all, there you have it. That, you know, that's just a quick down and dirty of how to wet out and laminate on a piece of the composite or the foam cores. Again, I'm going to be doing an entire in-depth video on the composite cores and what I use and why I use what I use and how to work with them properly. This was more in case Jacob needed a quick tutorial for a project that he was working on or something like that. I wanted to get this out there. I should note, I don't remember if I said so or not, when you're working with stuff, you want to vacuum it really good or blow it off with clean compressed air, and then give it a good acetone bath, really wet rag with acetone, and wipe over it a few times. Make sure there isn't any little dust particles on the foam. If there's dust on it, then your glass isn't going to bond properly. Your resin isn't going to get a full bond like it's intended to do. So, you know, blow it off, vacuum it. I use a vacuum. I vacuum it off really well, and then I give it a good going over with an acetone rag, sometimes 2 acetone rags depending on how bad it is. And, you know, that just assures me that there's no dust, no sand. This foam, when it's shipped in boxes stacked on top of one another, and it sits there and rubs back and forth, and it kind of creates its own dust as it's being shipped in the back of a truck or on airplanes or cargo trains, what have you. It just kind of sits there and whittles away at itself a little bit and just creates this really fine powder, and the resin isn't going to stick to the actual core as good as it should if you don't take the proper steps and preparing the core to accept the resin. That being said, it will stick. Not many people, not many production run builders or what have you take all those necessary steps or all those extra steps to get to this point. A lot of times they'll just wet it a little more and roll on. But, you know, clean your core, vacuum it, wipe it down with acetone, and then you can laminate on it. And this works, this same thing with epoxy. You know, I'm using polyester resin. I use a lot of polyester resin, but it's the same concept with epoxy. And you're going to achieve just that much greater of a bond by properly preparing everything. The secret's in the prep. And that's about it. Jacob, I hope this helps. Again, you know, leave a comment below if I didn't touch the bases you needed me to touch, man. Just let me know. Let me know, and I'll go into deeper depth as soon as I can. But I wanted to get this one out there for you, brother. I appreciate you. I'm gonna get back at it. Y'all have a good night, and God bless.